to live off-grid, Dicky Dread, and we're now on solar power for off-grid living, the truth, part 2. So, solar panels are one of the biggest game changers for off-grid living. Once they're installed, they provide free electricity from the sun, no fuel costs, no noise, and very little maintenance. It's the cats trying to get in the way. Come on, out of the way. The downside is the brand new solar panels can be expensive, which isn't ideal when you're trying to live cheaply on the road or off-grid. The good news is that there are plenty of second-hand panels out there. People regularly upgrade their home systems and sell perfectly good panels. Solar farms sometimes decommission older units that still have years of life left in them. Businesses may also get rid of panels because they no longer match the rest of the system. And they're not because they're broken. However, not every bargain is a good bargain. Some second-hand panels have hidden damage, such as micro cracks, failed diodes, or corroded connections that could dramatically reduce their performance. Older panels can also be very large and heavy, which may not suit if you're going to try and stick them on a van or a caravan or some other kind of lightweight setup. So before fitting any panel, it's important to test it properly. You're going to need a simple multimeter to do this, but that can tell you whether the panel is producing the voltage it should. So the specs will always be printed on the back of the panel. I'll give you an example of those later in another video. On the back of the panel, you need to measure what's called the open circuit voltage, or VOC it will be printed as, preferably when you've got it in direct sunlight. And you need to be near to what that VOC value will be. It won't be spot on, because obviously the sunlight varies, but it needs to be close. If you skip this step, you could end up with an array of panels, very little power. Poor wiring and damaged connections can also create fire risks, so always put safety first and test before you trust. Just because it's solar panel doesn't mean it's not dangerous. You can still get quite a DC shock off a high power panel. Note that I'm not really discussing the cheap flexible solar panels you can get for camping, which often come with the new power units, which we will discuss later. These are plug and play, and if they break, you're basically fucked. You're going to have to buy a new one. Also, don't be fooled by cheap Chinese offers on the market, all over eBay. They're pretty much crap in my opinion, and should be avoided. So where do you actually find cheap or free panels? One of the best places to start is Facebook Marketplace. People often remove perfectly good systems when they upgrade and just want to get rid of the old equipment. If you're prepared to collect it, then there can be some real bargains. Gumtree and eBay are also worth checking regularly. Good deals tend to disappear quickly, so it pays to keep an eye on listings. Be ready to act fast when something suitable appears. Free cycle can be even better. Every so often, people simply give away working panels because they're upgrading their system or no longer need them. So it costs nothing to ask. If you're prepared to think outside the box, solar farms can be another source. When they replace older panels, the decommissioning units may still have years of useful life left in them. It can be worth contacting operators directly. Scrap yards are another possibility, especially those dealing with building materials or demolition projects. Occasionally solar panels turn up from commercial buildings being refurbished or demolished. Finally, don't overlook caravan breakers. Scrapped caravans and motorhomes often contain smaller panels that can be ideal for a modest off-grid setup. So the key is patience. It took me quite a while before I actually got all my panels. I got one straight away just so I had some power, but I've now got 8, and it took me at least a year to get up to 8. So a good solar system doesn't have to cost a fortune if you're willing to hunt around, grab opportunities when they appear, and of course ask your mates as well. So before you start building your solar system, you'll need a few basic components and tools. The good news is that none of this is especially complicated. Much of it can be picked up second hand. The first thing you'll need is, of course, the solar panels themselves. So when looking at panels, pay attention to both the wattage, the power that is, and the voltage, as these will determine how much power you can generate and how the system is wired, and we'll talk some numbers later. Next comes the charge controller. This sits between the panel and the battery and regulates the charging process. And you do need those. You can't just connect the panel straight to a battery. Well, not in a safe way. But again, we'll cover charge controllers later. You'll also need a leisure battery to store the energy. AGM, gel and lithium batteries are all common choices, and we'll look at the pros and cons of those in the next video. For wiring, you'll need suitable solar cable and connectors, typically MC4, what's called MC4 connectors, could be MC3, so make sure that you're compatible at least, along with cable that is thick enough to carry the current safely. Using undersized cable can waste power and create unnecessary heat. The panels will also need mounting brackets, so you can buy purpose-made brackets. In fact, I actually got some really cheap. This time I did use Chinese ones, and they're perfectly good, but they took ages to come. But many off-gridders make their own using angle iron, clamps, pallets and a bit of ingenuity, and I've stuck some of them on fence posts as well. As for tools, a multimeter is probably the most important item. You're going to have to pay out and get yourself a multimeter. Don't buy one for 20 quid. You're going to need to get a decent one. It allows you to test voltages and test that everything is working properly. You'll also need basic hand tools such as drill, screwdrivers and spanners, together with wire strippers and crimpers for making reliable electrical connections. I would also recommend, although you don't strictly need to, soldering your MC4 connectors, but most people don't bother. Now, on connecting the MC4 connectors, I'm not going to do a video on that there because there's loads of YouTube videos out there on how to do it, and also lots of videos on how to use a meter if you're not sure how to do that. With these components and tools in place, you've got everything you need to start building a simple off-grid solar system. So finding cheap second-hand solar panels is often more about patience, persistence and money. A bit of effort can save you hundreds of pounds. The first step is to search local listings regularly. If the platform like Facebook Marketplace, for example, allows it, set up alerts so you're notified when solar equipment comes up for sale. Next, ask around. Caravan parks, scrapyards, traveller sites, off-grid communities, all good sources of information. Often the best deals never get advertised because somebody knows somebody else who's getting rid of a panel or two. Before buying anything, test it. And we talked about this earlier, but take a multimeter with you and measure the panel's open circuit voltage in direct sunlight. Compare the reading to the manufacturer's specs. If the figures are reasonably close, that's usually a good sign. You should also inspect the panel carefully. Avoid anything with major cracks, smashed glass or obvious structural damage. Dirty panels can be cleaned, but physical damage can permanently reduce your performance. Finally, don't be afraid to haggle, barter or blag a better deal. Many people simply want them gone. Offering to collect quickly or at an awkward time can sometimes knock a significant amount off the price. The main lesson is simple: to test before you trust. With a little patience and a sharp eye, you can often build a surprisingly capable solar system for a fraction of the cost of buying everything new. After all, sunshine is free. With a bit of luck, your panels might be nearly free as well. So that brings us to the end of this introduction to how to get the solar equipment for your off-grid setups. We've looked at how to find affordable, even free panels, what equipment you'll need, and how to make sure you're not buying a dud. In the next part, we'll move on to one of the most important components of the solar system, the batteries. We'll look at the different types available, including lead acid, AGM, gel and lithium. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each. Choosing the right battery can make all the difference between a reliable off-grid system and a constant headache. So this is what we'll cover next. We're going to say battery parts, building a simple solar system, 12-volt lighting systems, modern power stations, your Bluettis and Jackeries and those sort of things, solar controllers, real-world system design, common mistakes and safety issues, and how to expand up to a larger system. So thanks for watching, and see you in part 3. Again, if you can like or leave comments, etc., it does get the message out there. So stay well, stay safe. Fuck the system.